So I just watched Mobile Suit Gundam 00, and it was pretty fucking rad. A lot of people have told me, like, oh, it's like Gundam Wing, but better. And yeah, I can definitely agree that is, from what I remember of Gundam Wing, that this is probably the better show. In fact, I'm almost certain this is the better show of the two. And I can definitely see a lot of the parallels that people are making between the two. The Gundam pilots are a group of glorified terrorists who are super pretty boys piloting these indestructible Gundam mechs that just completely tear through the mass-produced line of mobile suits created by like the opposing military factions. There's like a Char clone. There's a little bit of teenage angst, a lot of brooding, and a lot of totally badass mech battles that kind of teeter between the edge of realistic robot and super robot. Oh, also there's a completely obnoxious pacifist princess character, but we'll get to that bitch in a bit. Now, Gundam 00 started the trend of breaking Gundams into seasons. Before, we used to just get like a full 50-ish episode run of Gundam shows that just told one big overarching narrative. And then with Gundam 00, they started breaking them like into seasons where it was like a two-core season, then another two-core season. So about 25, 26 episodes, about 25, 26 episodes. Still kind of telling one overall arc, like one big overarching story, but, there is some downtime between the two. Now, this series focuses on Celestial Being, which is a group that does armed interventions, terrorist attacks, on opposing military factions who are going to war. It's like, oh, you guys are going to war? They fuck them up. Oh, like you guys are about to attack these guys. They fuck them up. They basically just keep intervening in other people's wars in an attempt to stop war from happening. And eventually the military's like, man, fuck these Gundam guys. Like, you guys want to start teaming up and fighting those guys instead. So, they kind of do bring the world together to kick their ass. And that is kind of the premise of the first season. Now, the big thing that I would say, when it comes to comparing this to Gundam Wing is the Gundam pilots. Like I said, a bunch of pretty boys fighting or piloting these indestructible mechs. The thing that makes them better than the pilots in Gundam Wing is that they actually have fucking characters. Throughout, the 51 episode run of Gundam Wing, they have almost no development or no personalities, really, except for, I guess, Catra, who's a pussy, and Duo, who is the cool American guy who's kind of snarky and sarcastic. But pretty much everyone else, though, is just this complete blank state. I'm stoic. With no fucking backstory whatsoever. Here, you still have, your kind of more fun characters and your kind of more stoic characters, but you really get into, their backstories and what shaped them into the people that they are, and they actually do get development throughout the course of the story. And they kind of open up a bit, and, their philosophies and stuff kind of change and sway throughout the course of the narrative. So when it comes to the Gundam pilots, yeah, easily better than fucking Gundam Wing. Except for, I would say, the show's Char clone and its pacifist princess character. Now, the Char clone, for those who are unaware, is a term used in Gundam for basically, in Mobile Suit Gundam, there's a character named Char Aznable. He is this masked badass super pilot. He's the main rival of the main character of Mobile Suit Gundam, and the rivalry goes on until Char's counterattack. And almost every single Gundam series has the masked badass ace pilot that is a rival to the main character. Now, this series has that, except he doesn't start off with a mask. In fact, he becomes the Char clone by season 2. But, in season 1, by the end of it, they kind of, build him up I'm the rival, and we're gonna have this battle. And I'm like, so you really didn't earn that. They've barely fought each other up until this point, and it felt like it was just kind of tacked on at the last minute. I mean, it's very tacked on. We're, balls deep into the finale, and he just kind of shows up. We're gonna have our obligatory duel because rivalry! Okay. And of course, that plays out the way it fucking plays out. And it just comes out of nowhere. It's a completely undeserved rivalry between these characters that it really doesn't work in the narrative, especially when the main character, Setsuna, he has a rival. He has Aliel Sanchez, the guy who is very much tied to his backstory, who's a complete fucking sociopath, and the guy who basically fucking ruined his life. and like they have multiple battles throughout the course of the story, and like their rivalry feels like a more legit rivalry as opposed to him and the Char clone Graham Acre. And as for the pacifist princess, well, I mean, the pacifist princess character sucks in every kind of fucking war narrative. Like Relita Peacecraft sucks. But also, like, Marina Ismail also sucks. But honestly, I think she sucks a little bit more than Relita Peacecraft because Relina, like, she felt more involved in the narrative. Like, you know, she's introduced to Hiro pretty early. She has ties to Zex because, you know, they're siblings. Here, it's just, like, you know, she's just a princess of this poor war-torn nation that's loosely tied to Setsuna's backstory. But really, they have no real connection. Like, it kind of seems like the narrative's gonna kind of, oh, like, you know, they're gonna, like, ship them. But then that really doesn't go anywhere either. In fact, Setsuna even states later on, it's like, oh no, we don't have that kind of relationship. And I think he actually meant it. The only other criticism I could lob against the first season is the lack of a strong antagonist. Because who the main villain ends up being is a guy that I didn't know was the main villain until, like, near the end of the season. Like, in the last couple of episodes of season 1, he starts doing some actually villainous shit. Because up until that point, he's just like, I'm an observer. I am going to observe. I don't get involved. And then he starts getting fucking involved. So when that happened, I was like, oh, whoa, what? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Was that guy the villain? Oh, okay, I'm on board now. I kind of get his motivation. Alright, just, that kind of came out of left field. Shit. And while I'm on the topic of really obnoxious, annoying characters, fuck Saji Crossroad and Louise Halevy! God damn it, they suck! Okay, so who is Saji Crossroad and Louise Halevy? They're two really obnoxious teenagers who have nothing to do with the core narrative. It's just the story will completely cut away from what it's doing, all the cool politics, and like the war, and the mech battles, and the character development of the main characters, and it just fucking derails the focus on these two teenagers. What involvement do these teenagers really have in the story? Well, Saji lives next to Setsuna, and they speak like twice. That makes them involved in the narrative. They suck. I hate them. They do jack shit. Like, you know, she's a spoiled, rich cunt, and he's a complete dickless beta who just goes, yes, dear. The entirety of season 1. Like, they're both terrible. And then, like, to add to it, like, they kind of give them, like, these big major tragedies that are brought on by this war. But it's like, who gives a shit? I didn't give a shit. I didn't like these characters. Fuck them. Hopefully these experiences will toughen them up. Because, fuck Louise, good. Maybe she'll stop being such a fucking entitled bitch now, which she does. I'll get into that later. And Saji will sack the fuck up, which he does, which I'll get into that later. But up until that point, fuck them. Like, god damn it, they do nothing but weigh down the first season. Like, I am not a person who's easily annoyed by characters. Like, I wasn't bothered by Vanille in Final Fantasy 13. I wasn't bothered by Pawn in Dragon Ball GT. Man, fuck Saji Crossroads and Louise Halevy, though. Fuck them. Now, it sounds like a lot of complaints, but that's only because, like, the complaints are a bit more specific than the overarching good things, which is really cool war politics and a universe setting, and, like, some great mech battles, and some really great characters, and some really great development. Like, there's some really great stuff that happens in Season 1. And as, like, the mystery starts unfolding behind the purpose of Celestial Being, what their role is, all of that, and, like, you know, because their whole thing ties into the master plan of this guy called Aeolia Shenberg from, like, 200 years ago. And, like that whole thing, that narrative, unfolds throughout the course of both seasons, where they keep finding out a bit more of what Aeolia Shenberg's plan was. So yeah, like, you know, despite like my long list of criticisms, really, it's just like a handful of criticisms amongst a really just well put together mech action series with some, like I said, strong characters, good storylines. Just some of the characters suck and just shouldn't even fucking be there. Just weigh the narrative down. Now this leads us into season 2, and I think it holds together a bit better as a narrative overall. You have a central villain that goes throughout the entire season. You have characters getting more development, building on what happened in the first season. Like the politics have changed and kind of evolved, and things are getting a little bit more hectic and crazy. And also, Saji and Louise have relevant stakes within the fucking story. Louise wants to get like fucking revenge, so she is now on the side of the Outlaws, which is this they're an autonomous military faction that works both alongside the the Earth's government, but also is kind of independent from it and just basically can do whatever the fuck they want to ensure peace. And so yeah, she's fighting along them in hopes of fighting the Gundams so she can revenge her family. Saji just doesn't want to be involved in any of this shit, but then he gets unintentionally linked to Catharon, which is this rebellious force that are fighting against the Outlaws, and he kind of gets sucked into being a part of Celestial Being, even though he doesn't really want to be a part of them. He just wants to be fucking left alone. But then he sees all the war and chaos, and he's just like, fuck, if I don't act, people are going to die. I don't want the people that I care about to die. And he's just, he really just kind of learns to sack up and just deal with these fucking situations that's put before him. That being said, I didn't need to know their fucking backstory. Like, if they had just done little flashbacks to their backstory and just never had shown me all of it from season 1, honestly, I think that would have been better. Because when you get right down to it, their entire relationship was, there were a couple of teenagers that were dating for like a couple of months. She was a spoiled bitch, and he was a sub. That was it. She was the dom, he was a sub, and that was it. Like, that was their entire relationship. She treated him like garbage, and he just went, yes, dear. And that was it. Like, if you could have, just not shown me that, and just let me imagine the whirlwind romance that those two characters could have had, and why they meant so much to each other. Like, letting me just fill in the blanks myself probably would have been better than actually just showing me that and making me go, Like, I still don't care about the relationship. Also, they keep putting Saji in the middle of, these battles and stuff. And I'm like, why him? Why does he get to pilot the O-Riser? Why not one of the other members of Celestial Being? Like, you have all these people who have been in this organization for a while now. Why aren't some of them mech pilots? Instead of, the complete wishy-washy pseudo-pacifist that Saji is, who has no fucking military experience, nor does he know how to fucking pilot a mech whatsoever. But yeah, those complaints aside, Louise and Saji are better characters in this season. Marina Ismail, no. She's probably even worse. There is, her pacifism goes to full retard levels in this season, where they are running from people who are they've abandoned the house that they're hiding in. There's a middle of a shootout, and they're in this underground tunnel escaping. And her assistant from season 1, who's now joined Catharon, gives her a gun. It's just use this, if we need to. And she goes, no, I couldn't do that. I could never look these children in the eyes if I were to do that, if I were to sink to that level. It's bitch, these children could end up dying. At least Saji, sacks up and understands, yeah, okay, if I'm gonna protect people, if I want to make sure people stay safe, I need to fight. She just completely nope, pure pacifism. I wish one of those kids would have taken a bullet to the head right in front of her, and then she would have realized how fucking stupid she was. Fuck her. She's dumb. I'm down with pacifist characters. I love characters like Kenshin Himura and Vash the Stampede. But, they understand, they have a vow of not killing, but they understand what they need to do to, to protect people, that fighting sometimes is required, and they will get their hands dirty. They may not take a life, but they will fight to protect people and not just run. So yeah, Marina Ismail, fuck her. Another character who can go fuck himself is Lockon Stratos II. Who's Lockon Stratos? He was the ace sniper of the Celestial Being Gundam team. He dies at the end of season 1, and in season 2, they replace him with his brother who looks just like him and sounds just like him. Now, and of course, the only thing they could think to do with his narrative is, I need to get revenge for my brother. And, don't compare me to my brother. Like, that is his whole fucking narrative. I mean, he has a relationship that's kind of cute. They don't really focus on it enough for it to be meaningful. But, that's pretty much like the two things of his character. Getting revenge for his brother and not wanting to be compared to his brother, but also constantly living in his brother's shadow. Which is like the most generic fucking character arc you could give a brother character. Like, for fuck's sake. Why did it have to be his brother? Shit, like, you could have made it his sister, and it could have been a little bit more interesting. Or even better, make Feld the pilot of the fucking Sniper Gundam. Like, have her do that, because she was Lockon's girlfriend. Maybe give her the revenge narrative. We see so often, like, the revenge narrative being, like, a girl gets killed, and, like, that spurs on, like, the main protagonist guy to, like, get revenge or whatever, which is where the whole trope of fridging the girlfriend comes from. Well, I mean, you give Lockon, like, this whole character arc, and then he dies, and now you've given Felt an additional character arc where now, she could go and get revenge. She could avenge Lockon's death. And she could be the new Lockon Stratos. But nope. They didn't do that. Or they could have had Tiaria. Tiaria had like this whole bromance going with them. With Lockon. And Lockon clearly means a lot to him in the second season. He doesn't, like they don't give him like the revenge narrative. Yeah, like I said, if you wanted to have the revenge narrative, there are other characters you could have given that to. You didn't have to fucking drag in a fucking brother character to just be a carbon fucking copy of the original Lockon Stratos. It was just dumb. And something else that's also a little dumb, but not too dumb, is Mr. Bushido. And not because his name is Mr. Bushido. Mr. Bushido is, like I said, he's Graham Archer from Season 1. He comes back, he's wearing a mask, and now he's like this samurai. And, he has this whole rival narrative continuing with Setsuna. Like, he wants to face Setsuna in battle and blah, 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 blah. You know why Amuro's character arc works with Char in Mobile Suit Gundam, or why a lot of these Char clones work? Is because the Char clone is the best pilot on the enemy faction team. And then, the lead Gundam pilot is the best, was like kind of the leader of that team. So, when they cross paths, their rivalry is just kind of instinctual, that they're going to cross paths, that they're going to keep fighting, that they're going to keep having these battles with one another. And even when they're not crossing paths, they're off being the main badass of their own stories. Char is off doing other things. He's still the top pilot. People still know who the fuck Char Asimov, the Red Comet, is. Same thing goes for Zex Marquise. Everyone always knows, like, oh shit, it's the Lightning Count. Like, everyone still, like, talks about Zex Marquise even when he's not being a part of the story. But here, you don't have that narrative of, like, the top two-tier badasses, who are just kind of being built up as these rivals who are clashing later on. Instead, you have, Setsuna, who is the main badass Gundam pilot with the biggest, baddest, more awesomer machine. And then you have Mr. Bushido, who everyone just talks about, like, oh man, it's Mr. Bushido, oh shit. We don't get to see him be a badass, and his whole thing's like, I'm only gonna fight the Gundams. And it's just like, well, fuck you, bro. Like, you can't talk yourself up as a badass when, you only get to have 2 fights in the entire second season, and you lose both of those fights. Like, even Char, like, got the upper hand a few times, and even Zex got the upper hand, or, like, pushed the Gundams back occasionally, and, like, came out on some, with a few ties here and there. Like, no, like fuck Mr. Bushido. Like, they don't build him up as a proper, rival character to Setsuna. And like I said, Setsuna still has his whole thing with Aliel Sanchez, which, like, is his real rival. His actual character that, that he has all this history with. So yeah, Mr. Bushido, he feels completely extraneous and tacked on, and he just didn't need to be there. Honestly, that's kind of like if I'm going to make a gripe about anything in this show, it is there are too many characters, and a lot of them just feel extraneous and tacked on. Mr. Bushido feels fucking extraneous and tacked on. There's a whole bunch of fucking characters called the Innovators that are introduced, and I would say like 3 of them are relevant, and the rest could just be cut with no real happenstance to the storyline. There's like, like fucking Saji and Louise in season 1. Fucking shit. Marina Ismail, you could just completely chop off from season 1 and 2. Fuck her. We don't even need her. She doesn't really contribute anything to the overall narrative other than to be the beleaguered princess of a war-torn nation. And then there are various just soldiers that are just like, given a lot of spotlight. They just don't need to be there. There's just too many characters that the series is focusing on. And I feel like if you just chopped a bunch of these characters out, you would have taken what I would consider a 7 out of 10, which is still a good show. You could have bumped that shit up easily to a 9 if you just cut out all these extraneous characters, had a more trimmed down narrative, and just it did the whole thing just didn't feel so overbloated, and these characters just taking up screen time for the sake of taking up screen time. Also, the mech designs in this show kind of suck. Mostly the Gundams. I don't like them. I think they're really bland and uninteresting looking. Like, the designs aren't striking. They're like, the only thing I really remember about them is like their bright color schemes. The only ones that are even remotely visually interesting is the Gundam Nodley, because it has these crazy ass fucking like dreadlocks or like just this long flowing hair. And then you have the O Gundam, which is it's just the RX-78. It's the RX-78 from Mobile Suit Gundam retooled in this new art style. And those are like the most striking fucking designs. And it's pretty sad when one of your most striking Gundam designs is just a rehash of the original Mobile Suit Gundam. That's it. I mean, you could argue that that the Exia kind of looks cool. The Gundam 00, it only stands out in my opinion because its fucking engines are on the shoulders, which is the dumbest fucking place to fucking put your power sources, on your goddamn shoulder pads. And then it has, basically these mech designs, they are like the poor man's Gundam Wing mech designs. Like if you want to talk about the one thing Gundam Wing has this fucking show beat hands down in, is mech designs. The mech designs of Gundam Wing are bad ass and completely memorable. Even stuff like the fucking Gundam Sandrock, it still stands out. 6 months from now, if you were to show me, I don't know, like the fucking speed type Gundam from it, like from Gundam 00, I wouldn't know what the fuck show it was from. Even though I just watched it, I'd probably take a shot and guess which one it was and probably get it right. But still, I mean, mostly because of its bright orange color scheme. Shit, like if you switch around some of the color palettes of these Gundams, I wouldn't know who the fuck these guys were. Like, the Gundam designs in the show blow. They're completely unmemorable, except for a handful of them. And even then, they're not even that impressive. Now, it sounds like I'm bitching a lot about Season 2, even though I said Season 2 was the better season. Like I said, going over complaints is a lot. It's a lot more extraneous than going over the good things. Because you go over, like, the negatives, you have to get into the specifics of why they're negative. Here, the good things, it's all just kind of surface level stuff. It's got like a good strong narrative. The whole, like, the war politics are really cool. Like I said, the characters are more developed. They have really cool character arcs and really great battles. And, honestly, the only, the big issue that the series has is just all the extraneous characters that weigh the narrative down. Like, if you just cut all those characters, you'd have a much leaner show that's honestly probably a much cooler show. Now, one big positive I definitely want to bring up for this show is the core message by the end of it, which is understanding. That once we have an understanding of one another, we have empathy, that will put an end to war. And that is something that's pretty cool, just because that really kind of harkens back to the old Universal Century Gundams. In fact, it's specifically Char's counterattack. Char wanted to force the evolution of humanity into new types, because new types have this understanding of one another, and once we had that understanding, we wouldn't go to war anymore. Like, we'd really kind of have peace once we have understanding. And that's kind of like the core message of Gundam 00, is to get that understanding. And yeah, like, that's totally rad. I love, like I said, like the finale, great stuff. The finale of both seasons, honestly, really great stuff. Especially the final mech battle of Season 1. Especially the mech battle at the end of Season 2. Yeah, great stuff. Like I said, it's a rad series, easily recommended, a good gateway Gundam. If you've never seen Gundam before, this is a really good place to start. If you just want to jump into an alternate universe series, if you've seen Gundam Wing and you're kind of wanting to explore another Gundam series that has the same kind of vibe, there you go. Gundam 00. It'll totally scratch that itch for you. Alright, that wraps up everything I had to say about Gundam 00. Hopefully that wraps up everything I had to say about Gundam 00. This is actually the second time I've recorded this because I forgot some shit the first time when I thought I was wrapped up. I think I hit all the talking points this time, though. Alright, now I'm going to jump on to watching some Turn A Gundam. I'll probably do a video on Turn A Gundam as well if you guys want that. And I'm going to do it anyhow because, I get to use these as tax write-offs if I do that. But yeah, till next time, guys, Zeon, out.